Okay, so what on earth could an ancient battlefield from literally thousands of years ago teach us about hitting our quarterly targets today? I know, it sounds like a massive stretch, right? But what if I told you there's a timeless operating system, if you will, for handling high-stakes situations? And it's hidden inside one of the world's oldest books. Let's dive in and see how this ancient wisdom can tackle some of our most modern problems. So look at this. On the left, you've got the legendary warrior Arjuna, just frozen on the battlefield. He's completely overwhelmed by the stakes, totally paralyzed by his duty. And on the right? Well, that probably looks a lot more familiar. It's corporate burnout, that decision fatigue, the anxiety over KPIs, the pressure of a huge presentation. The scenery has changed, for sure, but that internal battlefield of anxiety, that's a human problem that has never gone away. So that's our starting point. Let's actually reframe the corporate world as our modern-day Kurukshetra, our own battlefield of constant pressure, of wins and losses, where this struggle we feel isn't something new, it's eternal. Okay, so if we're all fighting this timeless battle, where do we find a timeless solution? Well, that's where we turn to this idea of an ancient operating system, a manual really, for how to act with clarity when the pressure is really on. Now, this is a really important reframe. The Bhagavad Gita isn't telling us to quit our jobs and go meditate in a forest. It's actually the complete opposite. It's a manual designed for action, right in the middle of all the chaos. Its whole purpose is to teach us how to act without anxiety, how to lead without ego, and how to work with this unshakable sense of purpose, right in the thick of our demanding jobs. So, to install this new operating system, we first need to get a handle on the 5 foundational pillars it's built on. These are the 5 basic truths that, according to this framework, govern our reality. Isvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. Now, I know they sound a little abstract, but stick with me, because they map directly onto our daily corporate lives. Let's just break them down. First up, Isvara. That's the supreme controller. Think of it as the company's grand vision, or the macroeconomic forces we have zero control over. Next, Jiva, the subordinate controller. Well, that's you. That's us, the employee trying to manage our own little slice of the world. Then there's Prakriti, the material nature. In our case, that's the corporate culture. You know it's there, you can feel it, but it's always shifting. Kala, that one's easy. It's time. Deadlines, market cycles, you name it. And finally, Karma. That's just a word for activity. It's our strategy, it's our execution, it's the actual work we do. These 5 things, they pretty much define our entire professional world.
So, how do we actually use this knowledge to cut down on all that anxiety? The core engine here is a radical shift in how we think, learning to focus on the process over the prize. It's all about detaching from the fruits of our actions.
And here's the problem we all run into. We get caught up in what's called fruitative work, basically working just for a specific outcome, like a bonus, a promotion, or even just a pat on the back. This creates expectation, and that expectation, well, it always leads to anxiety, and this feeling of being tied down. Our entire emotional state gets chained to these volatile outcomes that we can't really control. And here is the direct antidote, probably one of the most powerful lines in the entire text. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Think about that. The key point is this. Your responsibility ends with giving your absolute best effort. The result, the outcome, that was never entirely in your hands to begin with. This whole practice is called karma yoga, and we can just think of it as process-oriented execution. It means you shift your entire focus to the quality of the work itself. You pour all of your energy into the task right in front of you, not into daydreaming about the rewards or getting terrified of the potential failures. This is the key to building real mental resilience. So what happens when you do this? You become like an anchor in a stormy sea. I mean, the corporate world is just full of these dualities, right? Profit and loss, praise and criticism, getting a promotion or getting passed over. A resilient mind learns to handle these ups and downs without getting thrown off course. It just stays steady and effective, no matter what's happening on the outside. All right, let's make this even more practical. How do we apply this to our day-to-day? Let's build this out into a framework for, let's call it perfect project management. So according to this philosophy, every single thing you do, from sending a quick email to launching a massive new product, needs 5 different causes to come together for it to work. And understanding these 5 factors is really the secret to executing flawlessly without all the anxiety. Here they are. The first 4 are your controllable variables. Number 1, Adhisthana.
the place of action, your company or the market you're in. 2. Karta, the performer, that's you and your team. 3. Karanam, the instruments, your tools, your capital, your tech. And 4. Seshta, the endeavor itself, your strategy and your execution. And then there's the 5th factor, Daiva. This is the one you can't control. The market shifts, those black swan events, just plain old luck. And here is the whole key. Your job is to execute those first 4 flawlessly, and then completely let go of the 5th.
Now, when an individual masters this, they become a really high performer. But when a leader masters this, they become something else entirely. Let's take a look at the qualities of what this framework calls a transcendental executive. But first, we gotta debunk a huge myth. Renunciation or detachment does not mean quitting your job. The reality is that anyone who dedicates their work to a purpose that's bigger than themselves, without personal ego or that constant thirst for personal gain, is a true renunciate. You can absolutely be a fierce warrior in the boardroom while staying completely detached on the inside.
So what does this kind of leadership actually look like? Well, the qualities map perfectly to our modern ideas of great leadership. Under emotional intelligence, you see stuff like compassion and modesty. For resilience, you get fearlessness and steady determination. And under ethics, you find truthfulness, simplicity, and this is the big one, freedom from ego. That right there is the profile of a truly exceptional leader.
So how can you start putting this into practice, like today? Here's a super simple checklist. 1. Focus all your intensity on the process, not the outcome. 2. Train your mind to stay steady amidst the wins and the losses. 3. Actively reject the distractions of ego and office politics by keeping your focus on the quality of your own work. And 4. Control your controllables, your team, your tools, your strategy, and just surrender to all those unpredictable variables. And that brings us to our final and maybe most provocative idea. True liberation isn't about escaping the corporate world. It's about achieving freedom from a contaminated, ego-driven consciousness while operating within it. When you can act with a purified mind, your actions are no longer binding you. They just become expressions of pure purpose. And that might just be the ultimate marker of success.